You're always on task. Camille, you are probably the most prepared person in the world. Even if you're like not, you don't let, you're kind of like J-Lo. Like the world could be throwing shit at you and you're never going to let people know that you're upset or sad. You're going to look beautiful. You're going to look unbothered. Like that's Camille Adams in a nutshell.
Mi gente Latino.
Mi gente Latino.
Did you see
the
interview with her and the man with the gay with the big veneers?
Yes.
Which he was handsome, but those veneers were too much. And he was like, shouldn't it be mi gente Latina? And
yeah, right.
Like, I was so caught up in that moment.
Exactly. Like, poor thing. Like, her and like Selena Gomez, like they don't speak like fluent Spanish because of they were born and raised in America. And so it's just like one of those things where, I don't know, I feel like they get a lot of shit for it. And I'm just kind of like, how do you feel as a Latina woman?
Because I speak Mexican.
Because you speak Mexican.
For those who don't know, someone at my prior workplace came up to me and asked me that. And Zach was right there.
I was right there. I was gagged. You were gagged. We both looked at each other and we were just like, oh, like you did not just ask her if she spoke quote unquote Mexican. And for those out there that may not know Camille Adams, you should know her, but Camille is not in fact Mexican.
No, I'm not.
No, not at all.
So just gag you all.
Yeah. But so let's celebrate that though. Come on, ambiguity. Is that the word?
I think racial ambiguity.
Racial ambiguity.
Yeah. So let's just start it off strong. Black History Month is coming up. I am half Black.
This is true. This is true. Yes. How do you feel about celebrating half the month?
Oh my God.
I'm like, do I keep that in here?
Keep
it. Yeah.
How do I feel about celebrating half the month? You know, it's so people don't understand like what us biracials go through. It's like, which half do we pick?
And you know what? That's actually very real. I know that we're shitting and giggling right now, but like that's a very real conversation that you and I have had a lot of times. Is like you do encounter a lot of colorism and whatnot from both communities, right?
Yes. Let me tell you, I appreciate you for that. I was still on the joke of which half of the month do I pick?
Oh, I'm sorry. I got real deep. I got dark and deep real quick. I chose the dark half.
You know, for people's knowledge, like my dad is not very dark. And of course, my mother is white. And that's why you can't do anything about genetics, but that's why I look like, but.
Right. Yeah. Well, oh my gosh. So we got started off. We got started off real strong, real quick. Welcome back to Homophonic, everyone. I am joined by my dear friend, Camille Adams. This is going to be a different kind of episode. I know that we love, tap it. We love, obviously we love pop music. We love pop culture. I'm sure that we will throw in lots of pop culture and pop music references throughout this episode. But Camille is a dietitian. And I worked with Camille at my current employer, still her previous employer. We worked together on several projects together. And I thought it would be really cool to not only bring you on because obviously I love you and adore you and we just have such a great, bond, but oh, look at that. we just for those that can't see, because this is not a visual medium necessarily, but we just had hearts. Yeah, we just had hearts flying.
Green.
Yeah, we love that. But Camille is a registered dietitian, and being that it is kind of the new year, people on my Instagram often ask me like, how did you get your body? Blah, 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 things like that. And you know what? I appreciate
your body's great.
Thank you. And so is yours.
Thank you.
I appreciate all of the nice words, but the reality is that I am not a health professional. I work in a health and wellness facility, which will not be named on this show, but
we're not giving them any more coins.
We're not giving them the coins, but I work in their marketing department. So it's like I am familiar, I'm surrounded with health and wellness professionals, but like I myself am not one.
We
Therefore,
call
I just
you health and wellness adjacent.
adjacent.
Health adjacent.
Exactly.
Mhm.
Exactly. And so I just wanted to have you on to kind of just talk a little bit about the diet nutrition aspect of it, because I just feel like, I don't know, I just feel like using my platform, I think it's important to bring on like subject matter experts in those fields, and instead of like hearing what I did and then trying to follow that, like maybe having someone like you who is just, and let me tell you guys, Camille, you are like truly, every time I've just watched you in a presentation or filmed one of your presentations, like you are just so enigmatic. Like you make all of this sound so interesting and fun.
Yay! Good.
So like, yeah, I don't even know where you'd like to begin, but like,
Yeah.
yeah,
Well, first of all, thanks for having me. Thank you for having me.
absolutely.
I'll give a little bit of an intro about myself, but I think it's a great time of year for those who are listening currently. It's January. New
Yeah.
year, new me. I actually don't believe that it's new year, new me. You're the same person, but
Uh-huh.
we can always continue to make changes, and hopefully the changes don't stay in January. Hopefully they go throughout the year.
Right.
So yes, I'm a registered dietitian. I specialize in community nutrition. Dietitians can do a lot of things. I remember when I wanted to go into this profession in college, I had a lot of people asking me, "What are you going to do for your job?" And I was, as I am, an honest person. And I
Mm-hmm.
remember saying to them, "I don't really know, but everybody eats."
And that, I've never heard anything more true.
And it has rang true because
Uh,
I'm booked and busy.
It's
I
you, literally everyone eats, but not everyone eats,
not
but
everyone
everyone eats.
not everyone devours, but everyone can eat.
And there's a lot of people who serve.
And I was a waiter at one point, so I was serving and eating
Let's celebrate that.
at a hibachi.
Let,
But anyway, so I specialize in community nutrition for a lot of different reasons, but I feel like the core of why I like to go out into the community is that we cannot keep nutrition education within the walls of a hospital, especially if people are not ready to hear about it. You know, if you're a
Mhm.
patient, if you are in there post surgery, it's just not always the best time. I don't feel dietitians are utilized the best in the hospital. And
Mhm.
honestly, nutrition is prevention, it's the base of medicine. And we have to be out talking about it, out and proud.
Mhm. Out and proud. Out and proud.
Out and proud, nutrition for gays, out and proud.
Which we need it. We need it.
Yeah. But so I love doing anything in the community, and I absolutely love. I was a musical theater kid, so anything in media, I
Mhm.
absolutely love as well. But to me, of course, Camille, the performer, enjoys it, but I feel
Yeah.
I'm also getting back to the honestly the root and the purpose of my place in this world is to inspire a healthier community. So I love doing things like this. In my current job, I work for a very large health system and I'm building a culinary medicine program for them.
Mhm.
I love to cook and show people that healthy food can be good. It can taste good. You just got to season it up a little bit.
Season. We love to season.
Love to season. Zach's a great chef as well.
Oh my gosh, you are too kind. That is not true. I try. I try. But Camille, so one of the ways that you and I kind of bonded is that I had kind of reached out to you for some of your dietetic services
Hmm.
when we worked together,
Hmm.
because I one of the struggles that I have is that I live in such a tiny apartment. You guys literally see the kitchen behind me. Well, you don't, because this is
You
an
hear,
audio. You
and
hear the kitchen. You hear you hear it. No, but I have my kitchen is behind me. On the other side of me is my bed. Like I live in a tiny little studio, and that's my apartment. And the issue that I run into is that just there's just not a lot of space. Like I don't have space to have all these different, cooking utensils and things like that. So I'm very limited. And that's why I reached out to you. And you have been so kind to like kind of give me some really amazing recipes and show me how to really simplify and still make really delicious, healthy, nutrient dense foods. Um, and you've cooked me for me plenty of times, which has also just been a godsend. Like,
Oh, thank you. Thank you so
Yeah.
much. Well, I just love you so much. And cooking's the way I show love. And honestly, I tell people like so many people are, uh, there's so many layers. Let me back up. There's so many layers of possibly why people are not eating healthy. Cultural norms. Do they have
Mhm.
access to the education? Are there healthy people around them? We really, in the general public here in America, are fed terrible food and we're given misinformation when it comes to nutrition because large supplement companies want to make money and large diet
Mhm.
companies, they want to sell you a dream. And so
Yeah.
it's really leaving people out with absolutely nothing. And one of those many layers that people have come and shared with me about healthy eating is they're afraid that they won't love the food or that their family or the people that they're cooking for, their children, their grandparents, their parents won't like the food. And food is central to everyone
Yeah.
globally. And so that's why it's really important to me that I get people back to cooking. You can cook with limited equipment, with a lot of equipment, and it's because you know exactly what's going into your food. It
Mhm.
brings people together. And so I say you can still have those wonderful feelings. We can just change the ingredients a little bit so that not only are you feeling good in the moment, you're all laughing and cooking and eating together, but it also feels good that you can relish in I'm adding to my health. I'm adding to my longevity. And so that's
Yeah.
why I really encourage people to cook. Zach was an amazing client. He was very easy to work with. Let me tell you,
Oh.
he was open to the changes, but
Yeah.
every client, I don't want to say gives resistant. They share with me things that they perceive as barriers in their life, and it's important that I look at it from a eagle eye perspective and say, I know you see this as a barrier, but when I see the bigger picture, this is my opinion on how this doesn't have to be a barrier anymore. And I applaud you for being open to listening to me.
Mhm.
And I'm glad that you have seen results in some way, but you're already very dedicated to your health, which helps quite a bit.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much. I mean, honestly, it was truly just eye-opening hearing you and everything that you've kind of presented to me. You know, also if people aren't aware, like I somehow just managed to like what's the word I want to use? Like I'm a magnet to dietitians apparently because
Yes.
you are a dietitian. My friend Jeff is a dietitian. My friend Kyle is a dietitian. My friend Kara is a dietitian. You just met an old friend of mine from high school, Whitney.
So
Shout out to Whitney.
shout out Whitney. I love you.
Whitney Schooneman. Hey, girl.
I'm hiring her actually as a dietitian on my staff. And I just added her on Facebook and I saw that Zach was a mutual friend. I said, oh, you know her? Long story short, for people who are listening, I work in a city that Zach is from. I come
Yes. You,
to a city around an hour away.
Yep, Benton Harbor, Michigan, which someone today, this is so funny. Someone today on my Instagram was like, Benton Harbor's not really a small city. It's 45 minutes from Chicago. And I was like, first of all, it's like 90 minutes from Chicago. And second of all, if you go to Benton Harbor, Michigan, sure, is it like a population of 100 in the middle of a cornfield? No, but it is very tiny. And it is surrounded by even smaller cities in the middle of cornfields.
And
So
I've been working in this community since about September. And first of all, I love it, love it, love it. Benton Harbor
good.
specifically is a predominantly Black community. And so
Yep.
it feels great, of course, for me culturally to be back there. But I mean, the community has just embraced me. And it's difficult. It's very difficult to come in, especially to somewhere that I don't know. I try to take a very humble approach in saying, before I can put out any nutrition information, I must learn and we must
Mm-hmm.
ask. I think this is something that a lot of dietitians struggle with is we have so much passion for nutrition and we want to throw it up and vomit it all out because we
Mm-hmm.
can see the bigger vision, but you have to ask what the community wants. And the
Right.
community's been receptive and they've been vocal and I absolutely love it and I feel so embraced, but it is small. Everyone knows
Mm-hmm.
each other. Everyone knows each
Yes.
I had someone who was a great grandmother in one of my high blood pressure culinary medicine programs
Mm-hmm.
to a child who's in middle school at one of my youth programs later in that day.
Wow. Oh my gosh. Yeah. Truly a small community, tight knit community.
which
Everyone knows one another.
part of me feels like when you think of that holistically though, like, wow, I have a matriarch of the family over here. And then
Yeah.
I also have a matriarch of the family over here. And then I also have one of the youngest members of the same family. And they
Yeah.
both have the same mission, even though I'm touching and inspiring them in different ways. It's really beautiful to see because
Yeah.
that will carry on. It's like you're
Right.
leaving a lasting impression that will carry on throughout the
That
generation.
is that is incredible. And one of the things that I admire about you so much, Camille, is how much you love people and
I
how
do.
much you do. You love it. Like, you guys, whenever I hang out with Camille, we love to go on walks together. She will say hello to every single person. You smile, you go and pet their dogs. Well, you ask if you can pet their dogs.
I do.
You do ask. You do ask. Consent is important. Consent is
Dog,
important.
beastie.
Yep.
Let me.
Yep. And but no, truly, like, you love people, you love getting to know people. And I think that you always see, like, you want to help people,
Yeah,
essentially.
of course.
And you're so passionate about human beings. You're passionate about, obviously, the LGBTQ community. You're obviously passionate about, um, communities of color. You're passionate about just everyone. And I love that. And I love that you're so, you're trying to find the best possible version of people within themselves. And then
Oh,
your passion with health and wellness too. Like, all just it just all flows together so beautifully, and you just make everyone that you encounter feel at ease. And it's just amazing. It's so good.
make me cry.
Oh.
Thank you, but no, you're right. I don't know how to describe it. I just said to somebody the other day, if I could meet every single person on this
Mhm.
earth, I would. Like, when I look at somebody, I just see love. I see them. Now, don't get me wrong, y'all. Like, I am drama. Like, it's never like I've never had a problem with somebody. There are some people who really make me mad, but usually not at first.
Right.
And so that's why I love nutrition and patient care. Before I was a dietitian, I always knew I wanted to help people. Zach knows a lot about my childhood and my life,
Mhm.
and I've gone through a lot of very, very difficult things.
Mhm.
But I wouldn't change them because it does let me have that urge to help people um, and love them. And
Yeah.
I'm going to be honest, I don't have a lot of bias or judgment because people could very easily judge me for the things that I have gone through.
Mhm.
Um, and so once I figured out that nutrition can help people, and not to toot my own horn because we need every profession
Mhm.
in the healthcare field, but nutrition is the base. A
Yeah.
lot of these medications, other than, the anesthesia, insulin, right? There are so many medications that are important. And I'm with my partner's a doctor, so I don't want to speak too,
Right.
too bad. But a lot of specifically chronic disease, high blood pressure, heart disease, diabetes, chronic kidney disease, all these things, the healthcare system is acting retroactively.
Mhm.
We need to be proactive, and that's what nutrition can do. And so not only do I feel in my heart I want to help people and see them for who they are and love them and give them a hug, I feel I can truly, in a way, cure them. It is
Yeah.
so powerful. It is so
Yeah.
powerful. Sometimes everyone's health conditions are different. It's not like just because you start eating fruits and vegetables, you're going to be cured, right? There are things that we can't. There are things with cancer we can't do anything about. With, if you're on dialysis, so there are things I know that I can't cure. But when I think of 1 in 2 Americans have high blood pressure, which is a
Mhm.
silent killer, when I think of almost the obesity rates actually have gone down.
Oh, wow, that's amazing.
Yes, in the first time for 2024, and the first time in I don't know how many years, the obesity rate has gone down, but it's still in the 40% of
Mhm.
Americans are obese. When I think of I think it's maybe 1 in 3 people have type 2 diabetes, or that could be wrong. But when I think of these things, I'm like, I can really help people. I can
Yeah.
really, really help people with nutrition. And I want more dietitians who are passionate about getting out in the community and helping people.
Yeah, absolutely. And even when it comes down to maybe something that's not so, like, maybe medicinal is not the right word, but like how many people do you hear about talking about like, oh, like abs are quote unquote made in the kitchen, right? Like,
Yeah.
oh, we got a thumbs up. That our computers they're giving us thumbs up, they're giving us hearts, we're gonna
They're
probably
giving us
get
like
balloons.
reactions. I don't
It
know.
is, the AI is real. AI is real.
I used ChatGPT this morning.
Let's celebrate that. Let's celebrate that. Sip it. But I mean, but what I guess what I'm trying to say is that, like, you know, nutrition is so important to just everyone's daily life, and I think that we just don't give that enough. One thing I want to ask you, I don't know if you're comfortable kind of talking about this or not, but like I think the biggest thing that I come across is like when I talk about you or my friend Jeff or my friend Kara or whomever, people don't really know the difference between a registered dietitian and a nutritionist. I know that these terms can kind of get mixed up. And obviously we live in America. And so like, I'm not unsure about these terms outside of America and if they mean anything different, but in America, they mean something different. Are you comfortable
Mhm.
kind of talking about the difference between the two?
Yeah, absolutely. And I don't know everything about international, but I have a few international dietitian connections, so I can kind of speak on what that means from a global level too. But yes, here in America, so a registered dietitian, I always tell people think of a registered nurse, right?
Mm-hmm.
How you have to go to school. And when you have a licensure or a registration by your professional name, that means that you have a higher board holding you ethically accountable for what you're doing.
Mm.
Same as like a CPA.
Okay.
Same as like, anything where there's a higher board that is saying these are the ethics and these are the standards that we require you to have. And, money goes into that in examination. So to be a dietitian, actually now you need to have an undergraduate degree. You need to do a dietetic internship, which is very similar to teachers, actually, how they do a postgraduate internship. If there are any teachers listening, shout out, love y'all.
Yeah. Hey.
I wish I could give y'all all the money,
Yeah.
but I need the money.
Literally.
No, I'm just kidding. But so and then now dietitians are required to have masters, and so and so a nutritionist is a more blanket term, even though now we're called RDN, registered
Mm-hmm.
dietitian nutritionist. I think to help people realize, because sometimes for a long time people didn't know what a dietitian was. So people recognize nutritionist as somebody who specializes in nutrition.
Mm-hmm.
But here in America, for our health system, nutritionist, you cannot work clinically. You cannot work
Gotcha.
clinically. So that's just the biggest difference. There are a lot of programs where people can be nutritionists. I have friends who are nutritionists and they're very competent in nutrition
Mm-hmm.
education. It's just the clinical part that I do not believe that they are necessarily taught. So, again, just being able, and insurance does the same thing. If you want to be
Mm-hmm.
covered by insurance, you have to be a dietitian because we're giving clinical advice. And so that's the biggest difference in America. It's usually difference in schooling and scope of practice. Internationally, though, sometimes nutritionists are doing the roles of dietitians in their hospital
Interesting.
setting. Yeah, so I believe that term internationally is much larger than what it is here in America, because everyone's health system by country is different.
Mm-hmm.
But I know a lot when those people will come to the US to work, they'll say, oh, I basically have to like re-enroll in school.
Oh,
Because
wow.
yeah, even though I was functioning basically like we are here as dietitians, for here in America, I have to
Right.
redo and go to their schooling. But
Yeah.
it's so funny because in America, dietitians do a lot of chronic disease management. That's our main focus. Whereas
Mm-hmm.
internationally, we do something totally different. We usually is looking at deficiencies. So people who are not getting enough nutrients and minerals for whatever reason. So it's very interesting, the differences in
Yeah.
scope of practice.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. To me, this is so fascinating. And I think just because I think, to kind of a quick backstory, I don't know if many people know this as far as my followers or listeners go, but long story short, decided to take it upon myself back in 2019 and met with my friend Kara, who is a dietitian, because I had gotten health insurance for the first time in God knows how long. It was like first time in like over a decade. And I went and got a physical, and my primary care provider said, that my cholesterol was a bit high. And at the time I was about 33. And she was like, it's nothing to necessarily worry about now. But she was like, real talk, you're not getting any younger. So she was like, the more that you can manage this now, the easier time you will have down the road. And I took that to heart and met with my friend Kara, who just kind of helped me kind of start my journey of like weight loss and like actually kept it off. And so that's why, to me, like working with dietitians and learning about food and learning about, trying to, how do I say this? Like unlearn all of these like myths and things that we're kind of taught. As you kind of mentioned earlier, we grow up in this society where we have a lot of health professionals that kind of feed us kind of misinformation about supplements or different types of diets or different, labeling food as bad versus good, things like that. And meeting with her and then meeting with Jeff and meeting with you and meeting with my friend Kyle, like it's all of you have helped me learn so much about food and diet and nutrition and like what, and like the science behind it. And like, I don't know, it's just been such a wonderful journey. And I wish that it was stuff that I knew when I was young, because I probably would have saved myself a lot of grief from, worrying about body dysmorphia and like all sorts of things. So I'm very, very appreciative of people like you in your profession and what you do.
Well, thank you. And you said so many things that I want to touch on. First of all, a journey. Even if somebody buys 5 sessions with me, which is better than not, that's not covering much when you think about it. And that's not a way for me to make money. It's just that it's all a journey. Us as dietitians go through our own journey ourselves, even separate from everything that we learn of years and years and years of school. And you grow and change. I love how you said, even though you met with 4 different people, the foundations of what you learned is the same, and it's reinforcing the same concept. We can all say it different ways. We can all find different ways to inspire you and connect with you, but it's the learning and the unlearning that is so important. Something that you said that I'd love to touch on is how to know, especially with January here and people are a little bit focused on their health, is how do you know when you should meet with a dietitian?
Yeah, I would love that.
Yeah. So you shared something that's a great example. You go to your primary doctor and they say that you have a biomarker of something that could be wrong. So for you, it's high cholesterol. And she made a great point of maybe you're not seeing symptoms of this now, but you should try to get a hold of it before you do, which is true. So, I mean, I think that people could see a dietitian whenever, but here are some really key moments where you should see a dietitian and things can be fixed with nutrition. One is high blood pressure. High blood pressure, people often ignore it because they don't feel symptoms. When you start...
We got that thumbs up. We want a thumbs down, actually.
We want a
thumbs down. Thumbs down. Thumbs down to that. Take it down. Take it down.
People often, and sometimes primary providers, because they're so rushed, maybe are not talking about the gravity of it.
Sure.
Even though medication is an intervention, it's not going to fix it. There are genetics involved, but high blood pressure has a lot to do with activity and nutrition. So that's one of the first things that people get diagnosed with before. And if you fix that, you can save yourself so much trouble in your 50s, 60s, and 70s. Fixing your high blood pressure and all these other biomarkers I'm talking about will take you from living a good life up into your 50s to taking you to live a good quality life up into your 70s and 80s. I mean, seriously. Wow. When I worked in the hospital, I see people who are dying in their 70s, and then I see people who are dying in their 90s. And think about if you had that 20 years.
Right. That's basically a lifetime, right? Like, that's incredible.
That's a grandchild. That's a great grandchild. You know what I mean? That's retirement. So high blood pressure, high cholesterol too, definitely. And it's honestly, those things are very easy fixes. That's why I said before they get deep and complicated, let's fix them. High cholesterol can lead to clogging of the arteries. It's basically bound to have a heart attack if that's not something that's managed. And sometimes it is medication, but it's all, you can't forget the nutrition. The medication can never do what the nutrition will do, but sometimes you need a combined approach. Pre-diabetes, which thankfully this is starting to get recognized and covered by insurance. because
Mm.
I have had countless clients tell me in the past, because my insurance doesn't cover me seeing a dietitian with pre-diabetes, so I'm going to wait till it's full-fledged type 2, and
Wow.
then I'll see you. And that's obviously a whole nother conversation about insurance that we do not need to get into in this podcast.
Girl, oh my God. That, yeah. Yeah. We got
He
some
fine
feelings.
though. If you know, you
Hey.
know. But pre-diabetes. Okay, that is because I like to tell people when type 2 diabetes is diagnosed, even though you can make great strides with type 2 diabetes and get your A1C down and get your blood sugar controlled, we can never say that it is reversed because of
Wow.
the damage that is done to the cells by the time it gets to type 2. Pre-diabetes, on the other hand, so if that A1C is higher than, well, technically now we don't want it higher than 5.7, but really 6 for your
Mhm.
A1C, or those high fasting blood sugars. That is something we truly can reverse. Truly, truly can reverse without that deep cellular damage. And we're starting to recognize prediabetes because we're realizing it doesn't go from normal to type 2 diabetes overnight. It takes
Mhm.
years and years and years of insulin resistance, which means you're producing insulin, but your cells are not taking it up
Mm.
because of the poor diet choices. But this has to happen for years until you're diagnosed with type 2 diabetes. Obviously, type 2 diabetes does go hand in hand with obesity, but I have seen people with normal BMIs who get this. So it really is nutrition choices, genetic risk, food environment, right? Access to
Mhm.
food. Sometimes, and that's why I like working in community nutrition, because all these things that I've presently said, all of these chronic diseases, when we see people with low nutritional security, they don't have access to fresh foods, you can almost guarantee that these diseases will come. And so
Right.
sometimes it's not, and I try to tell dietitians, sometimes it's not that people don't want to eat healthy.
Mhm.
Even if they want to, even if they're willing, do they have access to the food? Those are the
Right.
questions we have to be asking. Those
Yeah.
are the questions the primaries need to ask. Those are the questions that we need to put on our navigators, our social navigators in the doctor's offices. Because I can sit here and talk to somebody about healthy eating all day. If there's no grocery store within miles of them, it doesn't
Right.
matter. We need to get them in a different type of programming.
Yeah, because sometimes the communities, like maybe the communities that you serve, the communities that my place of work serves, like there are people who live in communities where, like you just said, grocery stores are miles away and they don't have a car. And we live in Michigan. And so they have to either rely on public transportation. Sometimes maybe it's a bicycle. Sometimes it's walking. I know that I myself, I can speak at firsthand experience. This is also when Camille and I first bonded, that a lot of people don't know about me, is that for 12 years I went without a car in Grand Rapids, Michigan. This The majority of that time was pre-Lyft, pre-Uber days, and therefore and public transportation in Grand Rapids was not as good as it is now. I would still argue that there's still improvements that need to be made. um
Oh.
but I
Right traffic.
walked I
Oh.
oh oh and I walked 2 miles to work, 2 miles to school, or 2 miles to the bus stop every single day, would then have to walk 2 miles back. I did that every single day for 12 years. And it's like, it sounds like I'm repeating some sort of like wives' tale about, like I walked 2 miles to work in the snow. I literally did. And I was also so broke at the time, broke college student working, part-time jobs here and there, blah, 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 blah. I could not afford new shoes let me take that back. I could only afford new shoes once every couple of years. So basically I had one pair of gym shoes and one pair of like boots that I could like, kind of either dress up or down. And I would wear holes in the bottoms of these things. And you'd think, oh, I would get some new shoes. Nope, nope. Didn't have the money. So what would I do is I would duct tape the bottoms of my shoes, duct tape the bottoms of my boots. I would then wrap my feet in grocery bags, slip them into the boots, and still continue to wear them, and would walk through the snow, walk through the rain, walk through the heat in these things. And it sounds crazy, but when you go back to the access of it all, it's like there are people that like, and so then going to the grocery store was difficult for me. I didn't At that time, we didn't have, so Grand Rapids now has Bridge Street Market. But we didn't have that at the time. We
It
didn't
was
have the
food desert where that
Yeah,
was.
it was a food desert. Yeah. So I had to plan meticulously. And shout out to my friend Gretchen, who is truly an angel on earth. She let me borrow her van every Monday for like 2 or 3 years. And so on that Monday, I was able to go get my hair cut. I was able to go get, oh my God, I'm going to start getting emotional. I could go grocery shopping and do all these things. I was not able to do that without that. And people didn't really understand that. There were times when I would be closing down the shop at work. We would be getting out at 10 o'clock. I would ask friends, it would be, we're in January, right? It would be 20 degrees outside, 6 inches of snow. I would ask friends, hey, do you mind if I get a ride home? And there would be times where people would say, no, sorry, I'm busy. And now here's the thing. People don't owe me a ride, right? I was in my own situation. That's not the thing. But I just say that because people don't necessarily understand until they are in it. And I think that's where you and we've had these backgrounds where we have been in the trenches. We have faced really difficult situations and really challenging times. And we, first of all, came out of those situations, right? Let's celebrate that. But then also we appreciate life in such a different way than others who may not have had to face those things, right? And I'm not saying that you have to face these types of challenges in order to appreciate life, but it's just it is different. It is very different. And so, yeah. So that's my long story about access and things like that.
Well, thank you for sharing that. I mean, very powerful story, Zach. Here's the hard part about things like this is that people don't realize people are suffering.
Yeah.
Because people who are suffering don't share. And I don't blame them. Right. Why would you want to sit in front of people? Let's take that same conversation of you having to ask for a ride. It's much easier for you to say, oh, can I have a ride? Oh, no. Than you having to then open up all your trauma because people have questions, which is also normal. Right? Well, why don't you have a car? Why do da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da? And it's so much easier. People who are suffering to just keep that in. But that is the problem. That's the problem is we don't know. But also that's why we have to do better as a healthcare system and bringing all these things back about meeting a dietitian and why I work in community nutrition. Community nutrition gives me the ability and the privilege to create equity within these fields so that I have the ability to ask about food access. If somebody doesn't have food access, I have the ability to put them in a program where we give them produce boxes every week. And if they don't have a car, we can deliver. All of my culinary medicine programs are free. We don't even ask for insurance because we know a lot of people in our community are either underinsured or don't have it. Yeah. Sadly, our health systems are not like this. I work in health equity, which I know people politicize and they say what they will about it. But I think every person, regardless of who you voted for, if they heard your story, their heart would feel for you.
Yeah.
And that's why stories are important and food access is important and people don't realize, right? So let's go back to you're seeing your dietitian for high blood pressure, you're seeing your dietitian for high cholesterol. And the dietitian is doing your intake and they're doing your assessment and they're saying, all these things. I really want every health professional who's possibly listening out there to think that someone could have a story like Zach and they're not sharing it. And they just go, oh, I didn't have time to get to the grocery store to add that broccoli and cauliflower that you recommended me to add in every week. And that's sometimes the only thing that the patient will share with you. Right. But we have to think about before we sit here and judge, why wouldn't they do that? Oh, they're just not ready. Oh, they're just spending their money elsewhere. People don't realize possibly why people aren't eating healthy in the first place. But we also see chronic disease throughout all incomes. America is one of the only, I saw a wonderful graph one time that America is one of the only places that if you look at all incomes, you see chronic health issues.
Wow.
So rich people can have diabetes, poor people can have diabetes, and they're all for different reasons.
Sure.
One of the biggest reasons, of course, is lack of nutrition education. But when we look at low income, it's always usually food access. And so I really want people to think about things like these before you judge. People don't realize, for example, when you're in healthcare, you probably have enough money to have a car. I'm not saying everybody does. I'm not saying every single person does, but dietitians do, nurses do, doctors do. And so it's very difficult for them when they're given these counseling to even be able to stop and think about, could this be a possibility for this patient?
Right. Yeah.
People, sorry, these thumbs ups.
Right. These screens being like thumbs up to no cars. Like, oh, maybe sometimes.
Part of me is like, I love that you were walking.
Right. Yeah. You would have thought that I would have been in better shape at that time with all the walking that I did. But
so it's so funny, and all of these things are so important for people to think about. And one thing I wanted to say is, because we talk a lot about physical health, mental health, nutrition 100% plays into your mental health. Exercise or lack of plays into your mental health, and it's a synergistic relationship. If you have bad nutrition, bad things in your mental health can come. For example, I tell people, when there's low serotonin, when we're depressed, our body craves more carbohydrates.
Interesting.
That is something that we see constantly, right? And so let's think about, if we have a diet that's high processed food for whatever reason.
Sure.
That's just feeding into each other, and creating inflammation in the body, and then creating more poor mental health outcomes. But let's pretend the mental health is bad because of the situation. You got 3 kids at home, you have no car, you're trying your best. Who knows what's going on in your personal life? That can affect how your body processes food. And so I tell people, one of the number one things I hear my clients say when they start eating better, I feel so much better. I'm sleeping better. And I say, this is why we do the nutrition. Sometimes I don't even want my clients to step on the scale, because if they're too worried about their weight, they ignore the things that are so much more important than weight that are going on. You're improving your mental health. You're improving your sleep. Sleep will help you lose weight.
Yeah.
Your mental health improving will also help your physical health. And I just want people to realize that it's a relationship. And that's another motivating factor for when you think about the rest of your life. Do you want to have poor mental health the rest of your life? Of course not. And so we also have to discuss the factors that could be contributing to that poor mental health. But I love that nutrition can also help strengthen that as well. And so if you're looking for something to motivate you in January, let's set the weight loss aside. Let's set the whatever short-term goals that are not going to play into longevity health. Let's think about mental health. Let's think about sleeping better. Let's think about all these things, because if you get that in order, weight loss will come, honey.
My God. And will it come? Let me tell you, like, this is the thing that was like the toughest part to learn, is that it's all about being sustainable. It's all about making it is a lifestyle change. It's these conscious decisions, and it's challenging. It's not going to happen overnight. And I think that being real with yourself, being real with, and everyone's situation is different, right? Some people want to lose weight. Some people want to gain weight. Some people need to manage some of these different type of health things that they're going through. But none of these things are going to happen overnight, and it's okay to take the time to learn. And and I don't even want to say you make mistakes, right? Because like, I don't ever
But you do.
Yeah. But like, I was going to say, like if you happen to eat, whatever, right? Because I don't want to label anything as good or bad or bad, I should say. Like, if you have a slice of cake, okay, you had a slice of cake. We don't need to spiral about it and be like, oh no, like my whole journey is over now. No, that's okay. I eat cake all the time. We love cake. we love a cookie. But it's, it's managing, do I need 3 cookies every single day, as snacks? No. Like, things like that. And I don't want to speak on, what people should and shouldn't be doing, but
but you are letting go, and that's something that I had to too. You're having food freedom. You're letting go of those notions. I tell people all the time, it's better to let yourself have that slice of cake and then stop. Eat a protein focused, veggie focused meal beforehand, so that you don't feel like you need to eat 5 pieces of cake. You can just enjoy the one.
Yeah.
But let yourself have it, and then let go.
Right.
Don't feel guilty about it. The guilt is what spirals you into those binge eating patterns, because you think, oh, I've ruined it anyway, so let me just keep ruining it.
Right.
Your body will, other than like red dye, your body will use anything. I tell people a cake or a brownie, it has eggs in it. It has oil in it. It has carbs in it. Your body will use those things. And instead of, because I want to start ending this with some tips, some general good for your health tips.
Yeah.
One of the things is that instead of thinking of good or bad, think of food as, how nutritionally dense is this food? And then you can plan your daily meals or the rest of your activity for the day kind of around these things. We just got off the holidays, but I honestly am glad I enjoyed those things because you don't get that time back. And so thinking about things as either maybe this is more nutritionally dense or less nutritionally dense, right? A grain bowl with peas and beans and chicken and vegetables and rice is a lot more nutritionally dense. Your body can do more with that than a bag of chips. But it doesn't mean, so we want those nutritionally dense foods 80% of the time, but those bags of chips are not going to kill you. If you eat them every day, that's a problem. But when you're eating like the nutritionally dense foods 80% of the time, the chips don't matter as much. You can have them occasionally. You don't have to worry about it because you're fueling your body with what it needs. It's usually when you're not getting the base of the things that you need, those plant-based foods that you need, and then you're filling it up with those nutritionally undense foods. But everything happens with each other. Right. Another tip I have is make SMART goals. Zach knows about this.
Yes. Speak on that.
I hope a dietitian who is watching, maybe it's Jeff, I hope any dietitian who is watching just applaud it to themselves because we live and breathe those SMART goals, honey. But SMART goals can be for anything. So obviously I'm here to talk about health, but I've used SMART goals for my finances before, which I'd love for you to have someone on the podcast about that because your girls struggle.
Right, exactly. I need help there.
I'm trying to invest, whatever. But a SMART goal is an acronym that we use because it takes something from I want to lose weight, which is great, but just throwing that out there is not going to help you do anything. SMART goal stands for specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time bound. So it's how much weight do you want to lose? Is it a realistic amount? Healthy weight loss is about 0.5 pound to 2 pounds, so on average on 1 pound per week. That's a healthy amount so that your body won't go into fight or flight mode and you can continue to lose weight gradually. So if you want to lose 50 pounds in 4 months, you got to go back to the drawing board.
Yeah.
It's not relevant. You're not going to keep it off. Time bound. How long do you want to give yourself to reach this goal? Specific. How much weight do you want to use? Measurable. How are you going to measure? Are you going to weigh yourself every week? If the numbers are triggering, use measuring around your waist and your hips. So I tell people, make your goals very specific and really dig deep into some self-reflection and think about, is this goal working for my budget? Is this goal working for my family size? Who do I need to support me in this goal? Is it my dietitian? Is it my partner? Right? If you're trying to eat healthy, but that's not your household, you need to sit down and talk with your partner. We got to get rid of these chips in here. We got to get rid of these cookies in the home. I will just sit here and eat them. We need to replace them. Let's sit down and grocery plan together. So I would say also make your goals SMART.
Hey, I love that. I think that that's so important because that's, again, I think that people, especially, when it comes to discussions about health and wellness, that oftentimes it goes to like weight loss, right? And people will, and so I think that, and people will try to do anything. They want to do it quickly. And that's the thing that you just,
because that's what we've been told. That's what we've been sold. You can lose 10 pounds in 2 weeks. Just because your body can doesn't mean that's the right way.
Right. And then what happens is that people will not make any sort of lifestyle changes. They try to do these quick fad diets or quick, exercise routine things that they're kind of being sold and whatnot. And then you stop them. And then what happens is that you gain that weight back. Sometimes it's even more. I know that I've been there.
It usually is more. That's what people don't realize is because you've put your body in a fight or flight state by losing it so quickly, so drastically.
Yeah.
It will retain more fat once you start going back to how you're eating. And actually new research shows that yo-yo dieting and yo-yo weight loss, which is what we were sold for generations, is actually is terrible for your cardiac health, terrible for your heart health. And we can just see so many issues with your heart health. So it is good to do it sustainably.
Yeah. Camille, thank you so much for joining me on this episode today of Homophonic. Everyone listening, thank you so much for taking the time to listen. I know this is a different kind of subject matter, but there is something that is really important to me and really passionate about, and something that you have made me feel so passionate about. And I just love that you took the time out of your day to come to this episode and join me.
Pleasure.
We typically end every episode with a song that we don't talk about enough. I know that we didn't talk much about music today, but Camille, I was wondering if you have a song that we feel that we don't talk about enough.
Yes. So I have a song that I have recently rediscovered, but I never remember, like, on this whole album, this is not necessarily maybe the star song. I could be wrong because you know much more niche music than I do, but a song that I love is It's Like That by Mariah Carey featuring Jermaine Dupri.
Oh my God. Yes. And Fat Man Scoop. Let's go now. What?
Well, maybe that's not what he wants to be called anymore.
Oh, right.
No.
Well, R.I.P. Right. Oh, rest in peace to this man, because I believe he passed away a few years ago. Yeah. Oh, he died? Oh. All right. No, but in all seriousness, great choice. I do feel like, because Mariah Carey's It's Like That, what's interesting about that song, it was the lead single from The Emancipation of Mimi. And that was Mariah's comeback album, right?
Yeah.
And obviously We Belong Together, that gold. And obviously We Belong Together, the album is a huge success. The thing is that, like, I feel like the average person doesn't really remember It's Like That much. It's a banger.
The production quality on it is so good. I love hearing something different. I mean, we all know the girl can belt. We all know Mariah has one of the best voices of all time, but I love, like, her getting kind of back to her roots. Partnering with Jermaine Dupri, of course, is great as well. I really hear that, like, Atlanta in there. Yeah. I just think that it's a nice mix up. You know, when you listen to the whole album, she just has that album, I think, in my opinion, was her trying to showcase everything. Yeah. Everything about her. She's like, don't forget, just because I can sing doesn't mean I can't pop some flavor in there. Doesn't mean I can't do a ballad. Doesn't mean I can't do romance. Doesn't mean I can't do sexy. I think that it's a great little, like, switch up, and I love that.
Yes. Like, these chickens is ash and I'm lotion. Hello, moisturization is important.
EOS lotion.
I love that so much. That's an excellent choice. And you know who's going to eat this up is Jeff. Jeff loves Mariah Carey. That is his favorite Mariah Carey album.
Is it?
Yeah. What We Belong Together is Jeff's favorite song of all time, I believe. If you were to put oh my gosh. And surprise everyone, Camille can sing so well. And that was like nothing. Like, I've been in the room with her and she just, oh my God. One of these days.
And Mariah Carey is also biracial and light looking, just as I.
Yeah, absolutely.
And she's a skinny queen.
Skinny queen? Let's celebrate that. Excellent choice. I'm proud of you.
Oh my God, thank you. I thought about it for weeks.
Just everyone's stressing out. I'm gonna really quickly go with mine. Is I don't know if you're gonna know this song. I was recently thrown back to this one. My friend Jesse, we recorded an episode. I believe his episode's coming out the episode before this one. So this kind of works out really well. But he and I were texting the other day and he brought back into my life the song Look at Us by Serena Paris. It's for all the times that we look at us, baby, look at us now. It's like this, like, silly little trancey pop song.
I'm listening. Who?
It's like Serena Paris.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I've heard the song, but I don't know if I'm familiar with the artist.
Right. And you know what? I don't think anyone's familiar. No shade to this woman. She's excellent.
Here we go in the comments.
Excellent human being. But, like, I don't think anyone is familiar with Serena Paris. They only know this song, most likely. Okay. And it's one of those songs where people are like, you know, like, oh yeah, I know this song, but like, who sings, like, who is this? So it's a cheesy little dance number, but it's so fun. And I was like, I remember actually hating it when it originally came out back in like 2001. And now it's like, it's just giving me so much nostalgia. And I was like listening it to the other day and I was just like, let's give this a moment. Let's give this
We
a
love
moment.
you, Miss Paris, Madame
Yes. Oh, what is that?
I know no disrespect to French people because I was just there and y'all treated me actually very well, but it's a lot of throat.
Okay, a lot of throat, which
a lot of
I have experience in other ways. A lot of throat.
I can expand it.
Yep. Let's celebrate that. Camille, I love you so much. Thank you
love
so
you.
much. Thank you so much for being on the show. And everyone, thank you so much for listening. And until next time, we'll just check you later. Have a good one.
Yeah, have a great one, everyone. Happy January. Thank you, Zach. It was a pleasure. And I can't wait to see you because we're best friends. So we see each other outside of the podcast.
Exactly. I can't wait. All right. Love you. Mwah.
Bye. Love you. Bye, everyone.